Hey, what's happening, everybody? So, hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody enjoyed the draft. I know I did. I thought for the most part, to be fair, it was like the first couple of rounds were extremely boring. But I think it really picked up speed and picked up, like interest in the second, third, fourth, and fifth rounds. Like if we're going to talk about the draft as a whole from the NFL's perspective, because I thought that I obviously a lot of this draft was surrounded around Shador Sanders and surrounded for the most part around him. I mean the I think the questions that just kept coming. Well, when and if is this guy going to get drafted? And all that was built around it. But from a 49ers perspective, I think that we all kind of understood and knew what was going to happen. What I think we all knew that where this team was going to indulge in, and indulge they did. In fact, I'm sure that Robert Saleh is just like kid in the candy store right now, just so happy with how they picked, how they chose the players they got. I mean, for all intensive purposes, just based on what we see, the film, the highlights, the numbers, I thought this was a phenomenal draft for us. I think that they answered a lot of questions that people had. Of course, there's always still going to be a lot more to come from this because we need to see it on field. We need to see these guys, in action. But I think that this is exactly what we expected. I think anything else would have been out of the ordinary, and I even love the fact that they do what they always did. Shanny loves his running backs, as we all know, and therefore he did draft running back in the later rounds, who looks to me and who's been compared to, and it's nice shoes to be in, as a young Frank Gore. Put up some videos later if you guys haven't seen some of the highlights of some of these guys. But yeah, I was happy with this draft, man. I think that, I love the fact that they went edge, they went defensive tackle, they went linebacker, they went defensive tackle, they went safety, they went corner, they even went quarterback and wide receiver, and they even went wide receiver / running back. So I think it had a lot of the fine print of Shanahan on there and the fine print of Robert Saleh. I think they answered a lot of questions that we had because the offseason was something very, I want to say, interesting, disturbing, and shocking all at the same time. But I think that this was the best plan that they could have really done. This is the best thing they could have done for themselves, is load up on young talent, especially on the defensive side. And, these days you get a lot of good young players in there, especially on the defensive side of the ball and sometimes on the offensive line. That's right. They did go offensive guard as well. And I think that says a lot. You mix and match a lot of young talent with a lot of veterans and a lot of 2 and 3 and 4 year players in there, and sometimes you get the best results. And under a guy like Robert Saleh, who is a phenomenal defensive coordinator, I think that he will be able to get the most out of these guys. Know how to package them in and out. And I think for the most part, we should see success. I mean, look, anything is possible. We all know that. There's injury. There's guys just not doing what they were drafted to do. There's guys not living up to the way they were drafted. But I sort of feel that, the Niners have some real good track records, I think, when we're talking drafting defensive players, especially running backs as well. All players for that matter. I mean, look, you're always going to get your outliers that just don't turn out, whether it's your Trey Lance, whether it's, various other guys, Javon Kinlaw, you're going to get that no matter what. Nobody ever gets it 100% right, let's face it. So, diving into this draft head first, I want to just go kind of player by player. I think that obviously Michael Williams, 6'5", 260 from Georgia. I think that was a good move. I like the tape I saw on him. I think, a lot of the skeptics or the so-called experts, the analysis was he's a powerful pass rusher with the length to get into blockers and the strength to push them aside. His hands are active and he mixes an effective inside moves, frequently rushes between the tackles where his length, active hands, and quickness challenges interior offensive linemen. He sets the edge defending the run and makes quick work of tight ends. He has room on his frame to bulk up. That's an area, I think, of interest right there. At 6'5", 260, what I'm seeing right now is sort of a defensive end. Now, again, you can always kind of push him to the outside, maybe, if you want. I don't see him being an outside linebacker. I definitely see him being a defensive end. But I would say with another 15 to 20 pounds of muscle, that may be the more comfortable size that he's going to need to be playing in the NFL capacity, because it's going to be going up against a lot of big offensive linemen, big guards, big tight ends, big running backs, big everything really for that matter. He's strong and he fights to ankle when getting double teamed. He showed great toughness playing most of the 2024 season with an ankle injury which hobbled him, which is interesting. He wasn't at full capacity. So hopefully we'll get him when he is. So that'll be interesting to see. They always do these little, on ESPN, they do these little comparisons. His pro comparison was to Travon Walker. That's not really, to me, no disrespect to Travon Walker, but I kind of disagree just from the little tape I've seen of him. So I don't really want to go by that. And again, that's just one person's assessment of him. But again, he's going to be lining up across from Nick Bosa. So it's 6'5", 280. If everything works out, he bulks up. That gets that ankle injury under par. I mean, we still have, Drake Jackson in the mix, who we need to see can play at this point. I like the pick, man. I really do. I didn't see anybody after that would have been... I mean, there's, it's hindsight is 2020, so we don't know yet. But I like, obviously, that they went defense, and I like that they picked the 6'5", 280-pound guy. The second round, I thought, was a really solid pick. Alfred Collins, 6'6", 332, absolute massive guy. 6'6", 332, when you think about that. Not only is he going to be plugging up space, but he's going to be taking on two guys for the most part. He's a massive and versatile defensive line with excellent length. He can line up anywhere along the defensive line, something I think that's really important, because imagine lining this guy, up at either tackle and then on an end at some point. I mean, that's just scary. He tracks the ball well, sheds blockers, splits double teams. He has had some upside as a pass rusher, too, and he's his best when he shoots his hands and works off his punch. Imagine a 6'6", 332-pound lineman punching at you. I mean, the NFL is tough when it comes to offensive linemen, but I don't know how many are going to be able to put up with that, especially over the duration of 4 quarters. Powerful edge rusher and gets his hands up. He has severe passes defense. That was another thing. If you go and look at his tape, he snatched an interception. They have him on tape. It's amazing. Okay, for a guy at 332, I mean, he may even gain some weight if he puts on some more muscle. God knows. They attempted to plug a hole at defensive tackle free agent Javon Hargrave, but that didn't work as expected. He's a physical presence who will command the attention of interior blockers, keeping Nick Bosa and first-rounder Michael Williams free from double teams. One thing we saw all year last year was for Nick Bosa to be double-teamed endlessly. And with all due respect to, Jordan Elliott, they weren't able to really help Bosa. I felt at times that it was the Nick Bosa show over and over again. I'm not trying to diss anybody on that defensive line, but that's just the way it felt. And we all know how Nick Bosa gets treated by referees as it is, so, they didn't have. Someone had said that he was similar to Javon Kinlaw, and I don't mean this to be mean, but I really hope not. Okay, because I thought, no disrespect to Kinlaw, in his rookie year, I thought he looked his best. Probably if he wouldn't have gotten injured, maybe the damage to the knee would have been a lot better for him. But I think that this guy at already 332. and at 6'6", I mean, that's a massive frame. So there's two needs right there, met at the defensive line. Next up was linebacker Nick Martin, who a lot of people were kind of skeptical about because of his injuries. From Oklahoma State, 6'2", 221, so a little bit on the smaller side when it comes to linebacker. At 221, obviously, what I'm thinking right away is left to right type guy, very fast, good tackler. That's what I saw on tape. Undersized linebacker who missed most of 2024 with the season-ending knee injury, which is exclamation point. In 2023, his 140 tackles and 83 solo tackles are both the most by any Big 12 conference player since 2018. That's an interesting stat. Hopefully, he can get back to that same level. Fourth fastest 10-yard split, 1.54 seconds, and the fifth fastest 40 time, 4.53 for linebackers at the combine. Now, those numbers reflect what he shows on tape when he is disruptive and relentless in pursuit. He beats blocks and closes well, rushing the passer, finishing with 6 sacks in 2024. He's also fast enough to spy on quarterbacks. Look, that's what we're going to need, okay? When you lose Dre Greenlaw, you lost a lot. You lost a guy who plays with an immense, fierce competitor's talent. It's hard to replicate what Dre Greenlaw brings to the table. But what I like is you're getting a guy who's, the way it seems to me, fast. You need a fast linebacker in this league. You need that left to right guy who can make tackles all over the field, someone who can spy quarterbacks. Because again, very hard thing to do, especially at the linebacker position. Dre Greenlaw departed to Denver, leaving a hole in San Francisco's defense. He's the classic 49ers linebacker with his ability to flow from sideline to sideline, as we were saying, and make plays in space. With Robert Saleh's eye for talent at linebacker, you have to be excited for what the coaches and scouts saw from Martin. He could start opposite the league's best in Fred Warner. So would the three be him, Warner, and D. Winters? Who knows? But again, I think it's imperative that we see, the progression he makes from the knee injury. It doesn't even have what type of knee injury he had. It's most likely an ACL tear, unless he blew out the entire knee, God forbid, and just kind of, had to have many of the ligaments repaired, which I hope not. And I really hope it's not a patella tendon injury, although it doesn't say that. I don't think it is. But again, third defensive player taken in the draft for the 49ers, right away answering questions that we had during free agency, where we lost Dre Greenlaw, which a lot of people were in shock about. For the amount of money he got paid coming back from the type of injury he had, I think you can see both sides. So I was happy about this move. Robert Saleh has another piece to the puzzle. Real interesting for me as just an overall fan, and I love who the scouts match this guy up to or to be like. CJ West from Indiana, 6'1", 316, which if you think about it in terms of the body, he's a big dude. Okay, obviously sounds like a space eater and a run stuffer, and they compared him to Poona Ford, who, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated defensive tackles in football. From his days with the Seattle Seahawks, I think he signed with Denver. I could be wrong. I love Poona Ford. I love the way he fit in there. West is built low to the ground and his punch is powerful, pushing run backers into the backfield. He fights to hold his ground. He occasionally splits blockers when he doubled. West's arms are short, causing him to miss some tackles, but he wraps up in tight quarters. He fires off the ball, gets under the pressure of blockers into the lap of the quarterback, quick enough to get into the gaps and mix in club moves. Look, at 6'1", 316 with short arms, what I'm seeing is a run stuffer who can probably, from what I'm reading, move his feet real fast, generate a lot of power. If you think about how we're going to look, if let's just be practical about this. If you're going to have CJ West, if you're going to have I'm sorry, I forgot his name already. Alfred Collins, Michael Williams, Jordan Elliott in there. one thing we couldn't do last year for the life of us was stuff the run. We just could not stuff that friggin' run no matter what. And like I said, I sound like a broken record, but we all know when we stop the run, we win. Okay? When we don't, we lose. That's the MO. And also, too, with these guys, hopefully they'll be able to generate not only take up space and take on blockers, but they're going to help the edge rushers do their job. Because it's not going to get any easier for Nick Bosa. It's not going to get any easier for Michael Williams. It's not going to get any easier for anybody on that defensive line if you don't have the pieces in the interior. And if you look at where this team was when they played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl the first time, go look at that interior line. You know, you had DeForest Buckner, okay? Obviously, Bosa on one side. You had Arik Armstead. I mean, even 2 years ago when you had Chase and you had Javon Hargrave, I mean, you had the pieces inside to do their damage. Nobody was running the ball against us. And if these guys can do what they're drafted to do, there is nobody going to run the ball in this league against us. And we already know we're going to be facing a lot of different running backs coming at us, just in the NFC West as it is, with the Rams, with the Cardinals. You know, the rest of the league always gets better at their weak spots for the most part. So that was our weak spot last year. There were teams running the ball down our throats, and we couldn't stop them worth the shit, especially on third down, especially on. A lot of teams were converting first downs against us, and we weren't a threat. We were, forget it. That for me was the biggest disappointment. And even with Collins and Elliott there, and I think Collins did the best he could. I thought Elliott got better as the year went on, but losing Hargrave really hurt. And you know, just didn't have that same feel as those other two teams that I mentioned, man. That's what these guys are going to be imperative about. You know, that's the important part for these guys. Stopping that run, plugging that run. That's everything for me. The pass rush will come. If Williams does what he's supposed to, if Salah's a master at having those packages mixed up, he did it in New York. Go look at his defenses in New York, what Jermaine Johnson did the last 2 years. You know, I know they've had injuries. I know they weren't what they were supposed to do. But look at Salah, for the most part, had a lot of solid players on that defensive line and the linebacker. You know, he got the most out of him. This is exactly where he needs to be, and he's the right person to just deal with this young talent. So I was really happy about this pick. Moving on from there, I wanted to get to Upton Stout. Okay, we drafted in the third round as a cornerback. Now, I think a lot of people, myself included, were kind of concerned at the 5'9" thing. Personally, I like my cornerbacks to be 5'11", 6'1", 6'2". I like them on the taller side, if you want to say it. 5'9", 181. What I saw from the tape is I saw a nasty, gnarly, snarling little cornerback who's just got a knack for the ball, man. Sort of reminded me, in a sense, of a younger, shorter Diamador Lenore, which, if this guy can even be, you know, a little bit in there, that's great for us. Stout is an undersized defender with fluid hips and excellent quickness. He shadows receivers and undercuts routes in man coverage. He reads the receiver, sifts through traffic, and closes in off coverage. He doesn't have elite speed, which you wouldn't think for a cornerback, especially at that size. But he ran well at the combine with the 4.44 in the 40. That's pretty fucking elite to me. I don't know if anyone else agrees with that. That's pretty elite for a corner. Maybe he just doesn't do it all the time in the free-flowing game. I don't know. I haven't seen enough about him. Stout reads the quarterback and tracks the ball well in zone looks. He's a playmaker with 6 interceptions in 3 seasons, averaging 30.3 yards per return on them. He shows good timing while breaking up passes. He fights to get off blocks, chases effectively, the strong tackler for his size. Again, that's what I think is important. That's why I say Diamador Lenore, the hyena. If this guy can bring all that there at that size, we're going to love him in San Francisco, because we got voids. We got voids at defensive back, right? After losing Shavarius Ward, obviously having Ricardo Green helps, but I think building up at that position has always been what you do with a football team, especially when we see this extraordinary amount of talent at wide receiver. And again, we're going to be going up against, just in the NFC West as it is, enormous talent. And last year, to be fair, with the injuries, with the unfortunate stuff that had happened with Javarius Ward's family causing him to miss a lot of weeks, I thought that we held together pretty well with Malik Mustafa, who everyone has, if you're not up to date, just went down with an ACL tear and won't be back till midseason, unfortunately. With the injuries to Talanoa Hufnagel, I thought that for the most part, this defensive backfield was doing their best with a lot of patchwork here and there. But you get a guy like this. A lot of people I think were comparing him to Kwan Williams, a guy who I hated to lose when we lost him because I thought he was all upside. That guy just played with enormous amounts of heart. And again, a guy with enormous amounts of heart reminds me of, again, Diamador Lenore, who we've seen, if you've been watching his progression to where he is now, has been amazing. I don't know a lot of corners that play with that nasty tenacity that he has to just, to the wide receiver, nose for the ball, talks a lot of shit, always battling. I hope this Upton Stout is just like that, and I think that if Lenore takes him under his wing, that's exactly what we could have. Even if Upton Stout comes in as a, not as a starting corner, of course, but as a slot guy, there's no reason why he can't just be another nasty piece of the puzzle. So I like this pick. We need, we all know we needed to go defensive back. I think if anyone thought that we weren't going to go defensive back at some point in this draft, you were kidding yourself, because defense is what we needed, man. Let's face it, defense is what we needed, and you got the right defensive coordinator. So the pieces of the puzzle are there. Moving on after C.J. West, Jordan Watkins, wide receiver. Interesting pick. Heard a lot of good things about him. Okay, saw some interesting tape. 5'11", 196 from Ole Miss. He's an undersized receiver again. 5'11", is it undersized? I mean, if he's 5'9", he's undersized. If he's 5'10", 5'11", I don't really feel that's undersized as a wide receiver, depending on what type of wide receiver you are. Are you a go and make the catch, stretch your hands out guy? Are you a speed guy? Are you a possession guy? It all depends on the offense, man. It all depends. He ran a 4.37 in the 40-yard dash to combine, averaged 18.5 yards per catch in 2024, which automatically makes you think he's a long ball guy. He excels at tracking, adjusting to the deep ball. He gets open, running slants, and he makes plays over the middle. His hand-eye coordination is excellent. He catches passes in traffic. Hey, we could use another long ball receiver. Let's face it. We have not had a lot of luck drafting them. Going back to Danny Gray, he was supposed to be a long ball receiver. It didn't turn out that way. That was one of the areas I thought we lacked last year, or we didn't use Debo correctly in the long ball receiver part, where we saw him at times, when used correctly in that part, be amazing. We don't have that right now. You've got Juwan Jennings, who's best as a possession receiver and go up and grab, make the tough catches. Brandon Ayuk seems more like, to me, I don't know, primarily a deep threat. I would say he's more of an all-around type of guy, receiver. But as primarily a deep ball guy, a guy who's averaging 18.5 yards per catch. No, we don't have that. So yeah, let's go. 5'11", 196. He could probably gain a few pounds for sure. I'm going to have to outmuscle a lot of those corners off the line. So another area we had to address. Look, we lost Deebo Samuel, right? Obviously, we all knew it was coming, right? Didn't get back too much in the trade. I thought we could have gotten a little more. So yeah, we need a wide receiver. Look, we know, too, after the injuries that have happened in the last couple of years, man, Ayuk went down last year. We lost Debo for a few games last year. Excuse me. To be fair, we didn't utilize him all the way I would have liked at times. We needed to stretch the field a lot more. You need to give Purdy a lot more options. And hopefully Jordan Watkins can fill that need. Hopefully he can be the deep ball receiver we've been trying to draft the last couple of drafts, which hasn't happened. So again, look, sometimes these things just don't work out. But you know, again, a lot of good things to say about him. A lot of good things I've heard. A 4.37 second 40-yard dash is nothing to look away from. 18 and a half yards per catch. That's a long ball receiver, okay? Even if it's in college, it doesn't matter. Here's the guy I really like. Here's the guy that I think is going to do the most damage. He's obviously there to fill in for what we lost at running back in the offseason. Jordan James, 5'10", 205. Everybody comparing him to Frank Gore, which I think is wonderful because Frank Gore, in my opinion, is the greatest running back the 49ers have ever had. No disrespect to Roger Craig. But as an overall running back, I'm talking about in doing it for so long, year after year, the way in which he ran. If you're not familiar with Frank Gore, go and look up some good game tape of him. I think he's the greatest running back I've ever seen in the 49ers uniform. Just from his tenacity, his nasty running style, the way he got really low to the ground. A guy who came off of 2 ACL injuries in college from Miami, okay, who went on to play until he was 39 years old, even though he wasn't a 49er his entire career. Colts, Jets, Buffalo Bills, and, made his way all the way up the line on the all-time rushing yards list. This guy, I think he's gonna fit right in where Jordan Mason was and where Elijah Mitchell was. Like I said, 5'10", 205. He's a tough and powerful runner with a low center of gravity. That's what I want to hear. He runs behind his pads and delivers blows at the point of contact. Who does that remind you of? He makes late cuts and has the foot speed to slalom through traffic. He breaks tackles in space, makes defenders miss, and reaches his top-end speed quickly after the catch. He's a competitive pass blocker who identifies assignments, get good initial pop, and fights to stay in front when he doesn't cut the legs out from other defenders. This guy, with Shanahan is a master, like his father was, at identifying solid running game. This guy is going to be ultra impressive next year with Isaac Garriendo and a healthy Chris McCaffrey and a healthy and Juice being back. Keep an eye on Jordan James, man. Keep an eye on this guy. I got a good feeling about him. Go watch. I'll put up some videos later. Go watch some tape on him if you haven't seen it. I think you'll be impressed. So, the 49er lineage continues of drafting running backs, man. This Jordan James guy, I mean, I was really excited about it. I couldn't wait to see who they were going to pick a running back. You knew it was coming if it's Shanahan. You knew he loves his running backs, man. For all intents and purposes, Shanahan is a running back guy. He's a running ground guy. His father was a master at it. Like I said so many times before, and I hate to be repetitive, but when he had Terrell Davis, he had Mike Anderson, he had Orlundus Gary. When one guy went down, the next guy would fill in, and each one had 1,000 yards behind that Denver Bronco offensive line at that time. So Shanahan knows his running backs. Look, we've seen it over the years. Jordan Mason, he had it right. Elijah Mitchell, when he was healthy, he had it right. He had it right. Isaac Garriendo, from what we saw last year. So, Greaser, much respect to you, dude. I'm back. Sorry, man. Jordan James is going to be the guy. I'm telling you. Keep an eye on this dude. You know Shanny's going to get him involved early. Okay, Shanny loves his running back. Listen, fuck what people say it's a passing league. No, it isn't. It's going back the other way. I guarantee it. This ain't the NBA. Marquise Seigel, I hope I got that right. Safety. Okay. 49ers love their safeties, man. 49ers love their safeties. Say what you will. Look at the lineage of safeties that we've drafted over the years. I mean, obviously, you've got the greatest safety ever in Ronnie Lott. Obviously, we didn't draft him, but we signed Tim McDonald, and he had probably the highlight of his career was with us, playing for a long time when he helped us win the title in 94-95. Tony Parrish, one of my favorite safeties of all time. On and on and on, man. Talanoa Hufnagel, this team loves their safeties. 49ers love their safeties, love their running backs when it comes to the draft, man. Those are two things I think that two positions out of the many that they get right. Hopefully this guy will be okay. 5'11", 199 from Kansas State. He made 123 tackles, picked off 4 passes, had 16 passes defended in his 2 seasons at Kansas State. I know a lot of people are going to say, yeah, Kansas State, I understand, but you know what? To me, talent's talent, okay? He primarily lines up over the slot and ran the fastest 40-yard dash for the safety group at the combine. That's the most important aspect to pay attention to. He ran the fastest 40-yard dash for the safety group at the combine, which automatically means this guy is fucking Flash or Quicksilver, if you're DC or Marvel person, whatever. He can stay in the back pocket of receivers and undercut routes. Seigel tracks the ball well, catches passes with his hands away from his frame, and is dangerous with the ball in his hands. He's an aggressive run defender who closes quickly and makes plays in the backfield. He led North Dakota State in special teams with 11 tackles in 2022. So automatically we're thinking, hey, if he's not a starter, he's a special teams guy. And if you could have been Stevie Wonder, whom I love to death, and you would have noticed how bad our special teams was last year, because it was fucking ass backwards. Again, one of the areas in which we plummeted in. So any help this special teams can get, we need. This guy, fast, nasty hitter, I'll take him. That's 2 we got, hopefully, right? We still, you got to see it transpire over, but go watch some tape. I liked what I saw from him. And if you get a special teams guy out of it, even better. Maybe he doesn't start at safety. Maybe he doesn't get a lot of play at safety. Although with the injury to Mustafa, I think that the window could be possibly open for him, in the future. I'm a little concerned on offensive line. What's your intake? It's funny, man. I'm just getting to that right now. I thought that we were going to address more of the offensive line position. Look, you call me what you want, say what you want. I don't know jack shit. I didn't think we were going to go defense the first pick. But the Saints took care of that for us when they drafted Harris, I believe, a tackle. Look, the way I see it is that the brain trust of this team believes in the guys they have at those positions. Brendel had a bad year. We all know that. Colton McKivitz, say what you want. I don't think he's terrible. I think McKivitz is good. Is he a long-term starter in this league? Sometimes I'm like, well, maybe he's one of those guys who came in under the radar, and I can't blame everything on him. Let's face it. The offensive line last year was plagued by injuries. We didn't get the best out of a lot of guys. We saw a lot of guys exit in this offseason. They held on to Burford. They held on to Brendel. Obviously, you still got the best defensive tackle in the league in Williams. So I was a little surprised that we didn't do more in that respect. But to be fair, maybe they just felt like, let's plug this defense because, I think when you weigh the two together, the defense had to be rebuilt. And now, maybe what they're thinking is where this offensive line is at right now, when healthy, is the best way to go about things, and then rebuild them later on in another draft, in another offseason, or maybe make some off-season moves come as we move closer. But speaking of offensive line, in the 7th round we had 3 different picks. Connor Colby from Iowa, which George Kittle should love to hear. 6'6", 309 as a guard. Now, to be fair, as a guard, I think he's very underweight. 309 to me sounds more like a tackle. More light, more able to move, more speed savvy. He's a 4-year starter who lined up at both guard spots and right tackle. He latches on and moves well. Running game, he is best fit in heavy run schemes, which is good, but it still concerns me about the passing scheme. Because once Purdy is signed, the next move has to be to protect him for the long run. Say what you want about the Dallas Cowboys. Say what you want, and I'm the first to say it. The one thing I think that they do well is draft offensive linemen. Problem is they don't have the quarterback back there to do the damage, but they do draft offensive linemen well. And this is something that, is part of the Cowboy lineage for many years. So, I hope that the offense was on the field a lot too much last year. Defense wasn't on the field enough, I felt at times. The defense, we were getting beat up left and right down the run, down the stretch with the injuries. So I'm hoping that we go back to what we do best. Defense just putting lights out, offense's turn to go. I hope that we get a better year out of Brendel. We get a better year out of Kip McKivitz. I hope Spencer Burford turns out and Williams stays healthy, And this guy at 6'6", 309 coming in the 7th round, is he a project player? I don't know about that. But, you never know what you get. I think he definitely has to bulk up. I mean, I like the fact that he plays guard and tackle. I think that's important. I think that what we're seeing a lot in the NFL a lot more is guys who are able to really go from one position to the other, one side of the line to the other, unless you're just, a DeBrickashaw Ferguson, who is a sure shot, 12-year, going to be a tackle, never get injured, very rare in this league, but, I'd love that, but that's not always the case. That was the one offensive lineman we drafted. And then the last couple of picks, Curtis Rourke, quarterback from Indiana, 6'4", 220. Go look up his stats. He had some impressive stats. Ohio transfer, started 46 games over the course of a 6-year college career. In college, a little long, but that's okay. He's a veteran. He's 24 years old, man. He's not a kid. He broke Indiana's record for single season completion percentage at 69.4 and touchdown passes 29 in his only season for the Hoosiers. He's a tall pocket passer who can scan the field and get to his second read. His eyes are married to his feet. I've never heard of that before in my life. When your eyes are married to your feet, that's got to be a hard relationship. I don't know how that's going to work out in the NFL, because if you're looking at your feet the whole goddamn time, you're going to get mauled and killed, especially with these defensive players that you're going against. Puts great touch on the ball when making layered throws. He'll take a hit to make a play, and he played the 2024 season on a torn ACL. Look, I've torn both my ACLs, okay? I didn't play professional football when I tore one. I tore one and I tore the other. I don't know how you can play a whole season as a torn ACL as a quarterback, especially when you take the snap and you're pushing off the leg. You feel the tear right there, because if you all know, your ACL is in the back of your knee. So I give this guy a lot of credit for doing that. Look, I hope it works out, man. I really do, because at the quarterback position, in terms of backups, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, this guy's 24 years old, okay? Been playing college ball for 6 years. He only played with Indiana for 1, so he's definitely got toughness. He played the whole friggin' year on a torn ACL. As Brock Purdy playfully posted, he's public enemy number 1, which I think is great, man. So, hey, we drafted Brock Purdy, right? God knows. You never know what Curtis Rourke could turn into. Then there was, finally, Junior Bergen, or Bergen, I don't know how he pronounces it. Wide receiver, but he has played running back. Go look at his stats. They're interesting. He's a versatile offensive target who moved from running back to wide receiver in 2021. He rushed for almost 500 yards in 2021, and he turned into a running back after the catch. Sounds like a Shanny guy to me. Sounds like another Deebo Samuel. I don't have his height and his weight here. I can get that information somewhere else. I'm surprised ESPN does not have that information, because it's like fucking what you do. Give me a break. But I did see some interesting videos of him. I did see his stats. The guy can play both positions. In this league, I think, again, it's only going to up his status. I think it's extremely rare. And if he can fill in that little slice of life, what Shanahan likes to do in the Deebo Samuel, well, why not? The more talent we have, the better, especially after the departures that we had on both sides of the ball. But look, overall, I think this was a really productive draft. I think they for the most part solidified that defensive line if everything works out well. And under Coach Saleh, we can only expect all these guys on the defensive front to do damage. I mean, the offense is already taken care of with Shanahan. We already know what a lot of the plays are going to look like. The next piece to this is just the signing of Purdy. And I think everything else will fall into place. I think this was a productive draft. I don't think the only other place I think that they could have gained a little more momentum was offensive line, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to be posting some individual videos of each player next. So those of you that aren't familiar with the players, I think you'll hopefully get a little bit more emphasis on what they bring to the table. I liked our pick, still unsure about the offensive line, but definitely needed to rebuild our defense. Yeah, I agree, buddy. That was the area in which we were lacking the most. In fact, I think we were still lacking it last season, even though Hargrave went down. They had signed Collins and Jordan Elliott. It just never felt to me that the defense was really on par all last year. They never really gelled. They kind of patchworked that thing up as much as they can. The Dre Greenlaw injury made things 10 times worse. The good parts about it were D. Winters, seeing him excel. And, we also had Warner had a bad ankle the whole season. Huffnagle was hurt. Shavarius Ward had that unfortunate incident with his family. So there were pieces all missing. And hopefully this does, plugs a lot of the holes we have. And mitigates a lot of the holes we have. The good thing about this upcoming season is everyone starts fresh. I mean, we will be without Mustafa for a little bit with the torn ACL, but we'll get back a lot of players that were on the injured reserve, missed chunks of games, and I'm excited, man. This ain't no rebuild. Anyone who tells you a rebuild don't know what the fuck they're talking about. This ain't no rebuild. I think that this team, if these guys do what they do, plugged into the right system that Saleh always seemed to have, they're going to do damage from day one. Nice to have you back and Juice back. Give the ball juice. Dude, give the ball the juice all day, all night. Throw to him. Please, Coach Shanny, I'm praying, man. Give him 45 to 50 catches per year. Why is that so fucking hard, bro? Much respect and love to you for your kind words, man. But, yeah, I'll be coming back at you guys with some more content, so stay tuned. And exciting draft, man. Positive draft. I want to see more experts, what they feel about, how they feel about us, although I don't trust too many of them. But peace.